Alright guys, so it's Monk here. Today I'm just going to give you some of my beginner tips on working with samples within Logic. So we're going to start off just by dragging something random from Splice in here. Just a random harp sample. Yeah, lovely. So this yellow bar at the top is setting a time region. Obviously that's like 4 bars that we've selected there, if you can see. So the first tip is the timing of the sample. Obviously the timing up here of my project is 140 and I want the sample to be at the same BPM. So what I was doing for years is I'd click on the audio file, and under track you can go here, edit and time stretch, and then I can time stretch region to locators, and that's going to stretch it into the area that I've selected with the yellow cycle range bit at the top. However, if I undo that, a quicker way is if you hover around this part, you can see that you've got these little arrows. So if you click and drag it when you're doing that, what you're essentially doing is just removing the audio to a certain place. It's still going to be at the same tempo, but you've just removed this section, if you see what I mean. But if you hold down the option button when you're hovering over here, you'll see the little logo changes, and now if I drag it, I'm actually squeezing or stretching that audio. So now if I put it in there, I can, and it is now at 140. So that's the first tip. The second tip is then if I want to repitch this sample. So it says here in the information this sample's in D minor. Say my project that I was working on was in C minor, for example. If you go up here above on your on the left hand side, this top bit where it says region, click that arrow so you get this menu down, and here it says transpose, and if I click after the word transpose and hold it and then drag up or down, you can see that we're transposing it up or down, and this is measured in semitones. If you have a MIDI keyboard or something, it's useful to look at that to work it out if you're not too comfortable with music theory. This sample's in D minor, and if my project was in C minor, it means we'd want to go down one whole tone, so 2 semitones we'd go down. So just drag that so it's -2, and now that sample will be in C minor. I would recommend then renaming your track with the information that you've just changed it to, so you don't forget. Right, then tip number 3, sometimes you'll find you'll get like little pops or clicks, especially if you're messing with the audio a lot. I find it happens with low frequencies maybe more than it does with high. Sometimes right at the beginning of a sample or at the end you'll get a click, so then, you know, if you're like looping it like this and you've got multiple, you'll find that when it plays over like this little region, you might get a click or a pop. So a quick way to fix that stuff is in this side menu under region on the left. You have fade in and fade out. Click and hold, then drag up or drag down. You're creating a fade into the region that you've selected. I'll zoom in so we can see a bit better. Yeah, you can see it's creating this line. So if I put it down again, yeah, you can see that, and that sounds like. So pretty discreet. You can't even really hear that that's fading in, but if you've got a pop or a click there, that's going to help you a lot to get rid of it. The next tip is then if I wanted to reverse this piece of audio, so the standard way is under this region option here, this region menu. If you hadn't transposed the sample, you'll see there's a little box here that just says reverse. You can literally tick that, and now your sample is in reverse. Super handy, but the annoying thing is it only works if you haven't transposed it, which we had it on -2 because we were in C minor. To get around this, you can click on the actual file, and then you've got this menu that says track, file or smart tempo. Under the file option you can go function, reverse, but what you have to be aware of with this menu is that when you are editing anything here, you are affecting not just this region, but anywhere in the whole project that you have this audio file, because you are editing the actual audio file. That's not always convenient. So what you could do is you could just bounce the audio file out and re-import it, so then you've got two files that are the same bit of audio, if that makes sense. If you didn't want to leave Logic, the other option you can do is you can route the audio to a bus and then route that back to a channel strip and record the audio within Logic. I'll show you how to do that quickly. So here on the region, you got on the side sends bus 1, and then send that all the way to bus 1. You can see in your channel strip here, you've got aux 1 here, that is your bus. Now, if I create a new audio region and I want to go input bus 1, aux 1, create. That's what that's doing, is this channel strip is sending to the bus, and the bus is now sending to this channel strip. So I'm just going to change this stereo out to no output for a second because we don't want to hear it, and then just hit record. And what you can see has happened is it has recorded the audio that's coming out of this channel strip through this bus and into this channel strip. Now if I make the output back to stereo output, we should be able to hear this one again. Cool. So now we've got that audio as it is in here. So it's pitched to C minor now still. And now here I can go file and I can reverse this. But our original sample is still on this one. Not reversed. So now we have a reversed and a non-reversed version. The next tip is chopping. So in sampling, usually you're going to not want to just like drag and drop it all the time. You're going to want to edit it to get it to fit your beat more, or for whatever purpose you're using it for. A good way to do this is chopping. So if you're dragging the fader along your bar at the top here to go through the time, what I recommend is sticking to where you can see these lines are, the little grey lines at the top. That's sort of splitting it into equal measures of time. So that's 1 bar, 2 bars, 3 bars, 4 bars. Now what you could do is right click and then split a playhead. That's a bit long. The shortcut is, if I'm just on 2, I can go Command and T, and that is going to just immediately split that, and now that's 2 separate bits. And what I was doing, if I was splicing up a sample to sort of make something new with, I would do that at all the equal measures, probably all the half measures as well, and actually probably the half measures after that too. So once you've got your sample split up into lots of sections like this, I can then just sort of move them around. What I would do is I'd move them down like this, create a new section, but you're not going to use this really. You're just using this to sort of place things in, if that makes sense. And then like if I want this bit from here, I can now drag it across, this bit across here, and you can do this with meaning. You can know what you're doing, or you can just be doing it randomly like I am, because sometimes just doing stuff randomly and experimenting like that is how you get the best results. So I've just flipped it around a bit, skewed the order of the sample. I can delete this channel again. So now, to be honest, this sample is super repetitive, so that hasn't really done much at all. But try that on other samples and you'll see what I mean. If it's stressing you out when you get to this point and you've got lots of audio files and you've flipped it all around and you want to create this as a new audio file, what you can just do is highlight it all and go Command J. Then it's just going to come up with this little message and you can put create. And what it's done is now conjoined all of that in that new order as a file itself. So another thing you can do if you like hip hop style sampling and chopping up your samples is Logic has this stock instrument. Logic has a stock plugin even called QuickSampler. So if you go new track and you click software instrument, and in your instruments here you've got QuickSampler single sample. I'd go with stereo for this one. So then it comes up and it looks like this, and all you need to do is you need to drag your sample audio file into the box where it says load record, or drag an audio file here. You can either drag a sample from outside of Logic, or I can click on the audio region within Logic and just drag it on. You got original or optimized as your option, so I'm just going to go with original for now, and that's going to bring that up as it is. So immediately that sample is in here, and if I click keys on my MIDI keyboard, that's going to start playing it through. And depending on how high or low up the keyboard I'm playing, it's going to pitch shift it, but it's pitch shifting it by changing the speed. So obviously the low notes are going to be slow, the high notes are going to whiz through like that. If we're looking to chop up this sample and use it in a sort of hip hop style, what we want to do is go up here where you've got classic, one shot and slice. So I'm going to click slice. Straight away, you can see it's chopped loads of things that's based on the transients it can see in the audio file. Now you can edit this by going mode transient, and you can go beat divisions, equal divisions, or manual. If I go on beat divisions for now, oh, that is quite a lot of division. There we go, yeah. So there where it's like division, this slider, you can then slide that for less or more divisions, depending on how you want it. Yeah, so if I had it on something like that, maybe this. So now this is mapped on my MIDI keyboard, and I can move these around if I want them to be more on the transients and things, if you see what I'm saying. But this is very fun to just sort of experiment with, and you can put them where you want. But by going on transients, you're going to get the beginning of individual notes in your sample. So then when I hit keys on my keyboard, it's going to start playing the sample from different points within it, if you see what I'm saying. So that's handy, because then you can play like to your beat or whatever. You can play a new rhythm in and experiment with chopping up the sample in different ways. When it comes to processing your sample, you're obviously going to want to put effects on it. So you've got all your audio effects down here. That's quite obvious. So, you know, I trust that you've looked at a lot of these things. What's not such like an obvious beginner thing to do is putting your effects on sends. I especially recommend this with reverb, because if you put your reverb straight on a sample, it tends to like the sample gets sort of lost within the space, and you weaken the strength and presence of that original sound. So I've already got my bus created here, but like for the sake of doing it again, I could go bus 2, and then send it to a little bit, so I'm going to be able to hear what I'm doing. If you hit X on your keyboard, that'll bring up your mixer. And I can see aux 2 here, which is my bus 2. Now on this strip, in this section, I can click, and that's where I can put effects. So if I just wanted to put a reverb, for example, you got the chroma verb there. We can put the reverb on this. So anything, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, the reverb's on there now, and then I can adjust how much reverb I want by how much this send is going to it. That's quite good to do with reverb, as I mentioned. The other thing you can do is put in compression or saturation on a send. That means which is going to help you to maintain the dynamics of an original sample, while you can create more punch and oomph behind it without sacrificing the dynamics of the actual sound. The tip number 8 is when you come to wanting to automate anything in your audio region. What I see a lot with people that are just starting, so to automate first region, it's this logo up here. When you click that, you get this view come up. So what I see a lot of beginners do is like it's set by default to volume. So when I do this, you're automating the volume of the track, but what you're automating is the slider on the side. So if I come off that, it's still there, but when I press play, you can see that it's moving this slider on the side here. Now, that is not good for one main reason, really. When you come to mixing down, that's going to make your life really difficult, because you're not just going to be able to change the volume. Like I can be, alright, I think it's too loud, so I'm going to turn it down. But as soon as I hit play again, it's going to automatically ping it to where it is in the volume automation. So if I get rid of that, the better way, if you want to automate the volume, is you need to just put a gain plugin on it, and you go down here, utility, gain. Now once we've got that up, we don't need to touch it, we can just exit it, And then here where it says volume, we can set that to gain, and you want to go to gain within the gain plugin. So now when I'm adding automation, I'm affecting the gain and not this volume bar. So when I play through, you can see that it'll be doing like a slow fade in, but this hasn't moved, which is great because now when I'm mixing down, I can have full control over these faders, and it's not going to affect any of my automation. It's all going to just work smoothly. Tip number 9 is when you want to start getting really creative with it, there is a synth within Logic called Alchemy. Yeah, so if we get Alchemy up, when you're on that, this is the default view, but if you go up here in the top left to advanced, you've got browse simple and advanced. Go on the third one. You can then see all the parameters to sort of start tweaking that synth. If we go to file and initialize preset, that's going to put it right back to some basic settings for us. Now, you can just use this as a normal synth, but another cool thing it does is you can use it as a granular synth engine, which means I can drag audio files in and granulate them, which I will show you what I mean. So where it says source, a saw wave, you can click and you can load source, and you can load like different load VA. That means it's going to be different kinds of sound wave, which is all synthesis within there. But you can load source, or even what I'm going to do is you can just drag an audio file onto that sound source. So if I get our sample, and I can drag that onto saw, and then it gives me additive, spectral, granular, or sampler. Now I want to go with granular for this example. So now you've got the audio in this source. So when I hit a key on my keyboard, that's too low. Yeah, there you go. You can hear that sample is in here, and we can mess with that in these parameters. So what I would do at this point is then go on the side here. It says global A, B, C, D. These are your different sound sources. So we've loaded the sample in sound A. So if I go on sound A, we've now got some more advanced editing options just for that sound source. So when I hold the button, you can see us going through our sample there. You can change the speed, and you can change the position, so that's where it's going to start from when you hit a key. And what a lot of people use granular synth for is making pads. So if I slow that speed right down, straight away you got some cool results. And you can just experiment here and mess with the parameters. Something like that going. And then to really polish that off, down here within Alchemy, in the bottom left, you've got Perform, ARP, and Effects. Go to Effects, click on the first one, and with the arrow, we'll go put some like reverb on that. I'll go with classic reverb for this. If I wanted more variation in that, I could then add some delays on there. And really quickly you can see we've made like a really spooky atmospheric pad there. There's lots more you can do with that. Maybe I'll do a video on it another day, but that's just to give you a basic idea and hopefully spark some creative interest where you can sort of go and experiment yourself. And then my 10th and final tip for this video is just if you found a sample that's inspired you and you're planning on building a track around it, a good way to, like, before you're even into the songwriting process of making sure that you don't hit a creative block, it's just seeing how many different ways you can flip that sample before you've even started making a tune with it. So, you know, like reverse it, like get a reversed version going, get ones where you've applied like loads of effects and really messed with it to make some really creative stuff. So I know I said about putting your effects on a send, but what you could do is put like a like chrome reverb, put a reverb on there. And what you could do, I've already done it here, but you can turn the wet all the way up and the dry all the way down, whack your decay up, put your size and your density up. And straight away you're making pads like out of any sound. You could do that with any sample. So I'd then do that and do the audio routing thing I showed you, and you could record your pad into a new audio file. So that's another way of flipping it. I might do another video on just purely creative ways to flip samples, but I'd recommend that, like, just in a project with the audio file, just getting as many different versions of that sample as you can, exporting them all, and then start composing like your track. And because you'll have so much to work with, like out of that one sample, you'll probably be able to finish a track a lot easier. So those are my beginner tips on using samples within Logic. I hope you found them helpful. If you got anything out of this video, like if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please like and subscribe and all that. That's really helpful. If you've got any suggestions or of things that you'd like to see me cover, or if there's anything you've seen in this video that you know a better way of doing, like, please let me know. Like, that's the great thing about music production, I think, is you just never know everything. So I could show you these things, but one of you guys might have a better way of doing it. So that's how we learn. So please let me know if you know of anything better. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next one.